Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Tombslayer podcast. I'm your host, Khristian Dentley, and I'm so excited to have you guys. Thank you to all the new family members that have joined in. Just really excited that you're here. The content has been up this year, Doc. Season 2 is going up, and none higher than the man I'm got to bring on right now, a good friend of mine. Let me tell you one of the things I love most about this. I love having conversations with my friends that we have all the time, but bringing you guys into these conversations, it's magical, magically delicious. So especially delicious on today, I'm bringing my friend, my brother. I mean, listen, I was introduced to this guy years and years ago through song. Amen. He happened to have joined my favorite group of all time, Commisssioned, at the time, and when I heard his voice from the very first tune that I heard it on, I was like, okay, I don't know who this dude is, but I love him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my good friend, the miracle walker himself, Mr. Marcus Cole.
Hey,
he was a miracle worker. He was a miracle worker. Was a miracle worker. Doc.
Listen, let me apologize because I'm not at my house in front of my beautiful rig with my lights, so I'm at a disadvantage because I look like
you don't have the psychedelic behind you, Doc.
I don't have
today. You don't. I don't have a psychedelic. I see something going on the ceiling. I don't know what was that. The fan?
It's a ceiling fan. That's the only effects I have. Is that of the ceiling fan? Intermittent shadows above my head.
Intermittent shadows, Doc. Ain't nobody mad. Listen, first of all, brother, I absolutely love you. The fact that we get to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Just thank you, man. You are an incredible blessing to my life, dog. You just how you move in life, bro, and like your design and desire to seek after the Father in practical ways, with your SAT words that you drop every now and then, bro. It's
hilarious.
It's the stuff of legend. It is the stuff, man. Welcome to the Tombslayer podcast, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Like I said, I want to ask for some grace for any harumphing that I'll be doing in this podcast. I learned that from my doctor when I went to go see him because he was doing it too. He was, and he called it harumphing, and I looked it up, and it is an actual word. It's kind of like
harumphing.
Harumphing. It's kind of like an onomatopoeia type situation. It sounds like it spelled, but yeah. So just kind of
2 words already that you dropped on us already.
So
we just getting
last
started.
night, I didn't cover myself up coming out of the venue, so I think I'm suffering from it today. But we're all good because I am healed, whole, and lacking nothing. Huh?
Talk. I'm glad you said that. Mm-hmm. Healed, whole, and lacking nothing.
Yeah.
Let's start there, brother.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it happened, but I think I got a phone call from your lovely wife, Nissa. What up? Shout out.
Yeah.
30 years. Shout out.
Come on.
That you were in trouble.
Yeah, bro.
In some serious trouble, and you needed some prayer. You needed a miracle. That's why I did the whole miracle worker song at the beginning. Yeah. So tell us about, for those who are not familiar with that whole time of your life. There's so much that I have to share about that, and I want to share about it. Right. But I want you to give context to what happened.
Absolutely. So about 3 years ago, literally right around this time, in September, I'll go back to September, late September, I went to Ohio to officiate my sister's wedding. And it was there that I'm sure I came in contact with someone with COVID. And when I came back home, I started noticing the signs, started with coughing, and then the flu-like symptoms, and then it persisted with weakness. And what I know in hindsight is that I did not, and this is for anyone who's listening, I did not go to the hospital soon enough because it was affecting my respiratory. And I just kind of said, no, it'll get better. Maybe I'll just nurse this and whatnot. But it didn't. And The second week of the symptoms, I literally had the wherewithal to just say, I need to go to the hospital. My wife called the ambulance. They came out to the house, checked my vitals, and my what is it called? My blood oxygen level was 48. That is less than half of what it should be, which is 93 and above. It should be 98, 99. And they had no idea how I was conscious speaking to them. And I walked over to the gurney, got on the gurney. 2 days into the hospital, the doctor informed me that I needed to go on the respirator.
The ventilator, yeah.
That I needed to go on the ventilator because he couldn't get my breathing correct. And he said, he warned me that the ventilator, there was a 50% chance of death being on the ventilator. But at the time, I just wanted to breathe. I didn't have the fear of it. I'd heard of what the ventilator was doing to a lot of people around that time. You and I both know, we know several people who passed who were on the ventilator. And I didn't have an immediate fear of that. I just know I needed to breathe. And my wife worked at Yale at the time, at the hospital. But, because of COVID protocol, they wouldn't allow her in the room. So I had to call her FaceTime. And I did. And I said, babe, they want to put me on the ventilator. She said, we doing this? And I said, yeah. She said, I got you. She said, I got you. Boy. And no truer words were spoken. I went on the ventilator October, I want to say 3rd. And I emerged from the coma November 10th, a day after my 50th birthday.
What?
Yeah, I went on the ventilator. I was induced on October 3rd, and I came out of the coma November 10th, one day after my 50th birthday.
Wait a minute. So in order for you to be on the ventilator, they had to induce a coma?
Absolutely, because the body would reject it. The body would reject it, which is why they were losing hundreds, maybe even thousands of people on the ventilator. Because, in hindsight, Khristian, I think it was actually, I think it was exploratory. I think it was something that they were testing, to be quite honest. And they knew that was a chance. And that's what he warned me of before I went on, but it was something that they had to do. And so here's the thing. I was aware. Let me choose my words correct because I need people to understand. I was aware in the comatose state. I was not aware that I was in a coma. Does that make sense? Yeah. So my consciousness was very much intact, but I did not know that I was in a coma. So I had no memory of, oh yeah, they put me under. So it was that, but my consciousness was very much aware. And it wasn't in some dreamy like state, where the colors were merging into each other. Everything that I experienced was real time. And for 5 weeks, I'm in what I can only call a dream state and several dream states. So I'm living several different lives, literally, where I was in outer space, where I was in some small town in Mexico, where I was places that I'd never been before, people that I'd never met before, but all of the scenarios were real. And it wasn't dreamy. It was real and cognizant, and here's the crazy part about it. I was aware that each scene was different. I was aware that each place, yes, I was aware that, okay, yesterday I was in outer space and I had this immaculate home in outer space. All the furniture was white. The domicile was see-through. It was, no, seriously, it was crazy. And then the next time I'm in some small town in Mexico eating at a restaurant, I got out to go pay, and then something went bad. So it was literally, and I was aware of it, and I would go, wait, I want to go back to that scene because
right,
yeah, and I want to go back, and I was aware of each time that it changed. I was aware of each one, but I wasn't aware of why it was happening. I wasn't aware of what caused this.
Mm.
Um, and so each state eventually turned very nightmarish, and I understood. I could only understand why after I came out of the coma, because they had me on every medicine, every drug that killed both Michael Jackson and Prince combined. That's not an exaggeration. Propofol. Um, my wife knows all the medicines. Fentanyl, morphine, you name it. Every drug, they had me on every drug that both Michael Jackson and Prince died from. And
Good Lord.
what I realized was that the dreams were exacerbated, or at least the nightmarish state were exacerbated by the fentanyl. Now, why fentanyl is even used in treatment, I have no idea. Right? That's not my wheelhouse. But I knew that the fentanyl exacerbated it. So let me fast track this so we can possibly move to anything else if you want to. The
Yeah, man.
the time my wife said, "Can you test him and see if he's still COVID positive? Because I need to come see him." Now this is a month later. They said sure. They tested me. I was no longer COVID positive. She was able to put on PPE garments, come in and see me. When she came in, she started playing music, you know, anything that, connects to a coma patient, and talking to me. And when I heard her voice, I was like, "Oh, wait, hey, babe, listen." But I'm still in this kind of, they talk about the sunken place. It's kind of that, but not. Um, and she was playing this song that I wrote, strangely, coincidentally, for COVID, when COVID happened at the top of the year in, I believe, 2020. And it was called Be Still and Know. And when I wrote this song, I wrote it for just encouragement of people who were incredibly fearful because of the times. And I heard the song and I was like, "Yo, I know that song." And I kept telling her, "Play it again, play it again." And so she would. Um, and then I think I was starting to emerge from the coma because I would hear talks, I would hear things going on and things of that nature. It's much deeper, but I'm not going to go into it. I said, so I heard her say, "Babe, you turned 50 yesterday." And I instantly did the math because I knew I went on the ventilator on the 3rd of October, and I realized I had been in a coma for over a month. Um, it was November 10th when I started gaining real consciousness again. And so I had lost the ability to walk because of um, the kind of atrophy state that I was in, obviously for weeks and weeks. You were instrumental in this decision that they made here to give me a trach because she didn't know what to do, and fortunately, she was able to call you and talk to you, and you. I think if I heard the story correctly, you quickly did some research and was like, "Sis, go ahead and let him do it."
Adrian.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Adrian did it.
Okay, and so thanks, Adrian. And so I woke up to this mess of tubes and intubated and the whole thing, just like what is going on. And I was still very drugged, so there was a there was a few days where she was like, "I need to document this because he is loopy." Like, I was asking for security guards. I was asking for honestly, I was asking for bodyguards. I was asking for like a lot of crazy stuff, man. And she was just like, I just had to write it down, and um, and then they started weaning me off of the morphine and things like that. But the doctor came in and he said, "Mr. Cole, you gave us a scare." He said, "I thought I lost you a couple times. I thought I lost you." And what I didn't know is that for weeks they were preparing my wife for the worst. They were telling her, "Have you considered, you know, making plans?" And she kept saying, "Absolutely not. He's going to be all right. He's going to make it. He's going to be good." They were like, "You don't understand." No, no, no. And so let me go back for a second. So, I started meditating about 7 years ago, intently studying what meditation means and what it does. And every morning before I go to work, I would sit for about 20 minutes, as long as I could before I had to go to work, and I would just sit and meditate in silence. So when they went to put me under, it wouldn't whatever drug they were using, it wouldn't put me under. And they called her and said, "This is bizarre, but he won't go under. And she said he meditates every day. She said you have to talk to him and tell him what's happening. And apparently they did, and it finally took. But and I say that to say this, Christian, I'm certain, I'm certain that had I not started meditating when I did 7 or so years ago, that I wouldn't have made it through the comatose state, because
Mm,
there were a couple times when I wanted to give up because I didn't know where I was and what was happening to me. And I wanted to give
mm.
up, but the Father gave me a code in the comatose state, and he told me pay attention to this beep. And there was a beep that I kept hearing that I didn't realize I was hearing because it had kind of really moved into the subconscious, into the background noise. But what I realized was that in the room was a monitor, obviously, that was monitoring my heart rate. And whenever I was in real trouble, the tone would change. And the Father said, pay attention to that sound. And I did.
Mm.
And every time it changed, this little woman in the comatose, the dream state, would come into the room and say, Mr. Cole, you okay? What's going on? And I realized now there was this kind of duality um, of existence, in a sense, right? What was happening in the coma and
Jeez.
what was happening in real life, I would see it somehow in the comatose state, but it was also happening where she would come into the room and she's like, are you okay? And I would have to pay attention to that. When they finally let Anissa in, I realized that that is what caused my consciousness to really zero in on what's going on. And she was, in a sense, my lifeline, like, yo, I'm down here, pull me out. It was crazy, right? That's the only way I can explain it. Like, yo, like, oh, I know her. I know who that is. And thankfully,
It's like the kick on Inception.
yes, bro.
Because
Yes.
once you get so far down, you gotta have to kick somebody to bring you back.
Yes, I promise you. It was like, and the thing is, and I realized this, man, is that I don't know if this was intentional, I'll be quite honest, but not allowing family members to see the coma patients was a huge mistake,
Whoa.
because the person, if they experience what I was experiencing and you don't hear from any family members, it's abject hopelessness. It becomes, I don't know what's going on, I don't know where I am, and it's going to flip over to another dream state, to another whole thing. And so that was a huge mistake. So thank God that she had the wherewithal to say, I need to come see him.
Yeah, man. So she was your lifeline.
She was.
Because when you heard her voice, it brought you out.
It brought me out. Yeah, yeah. I connected. I was able to connect with something real instead of all of those different dream states that I was in. I was able to connect with a real voice. Like I said, I heard the little lady that came in, the nurse who came into the room, but they're in and out, and they're doing, different things, and it all feels weird because it all translates as something else in the dream state. So, for instance, let's say, um, I'll say this. So, the one where I was at this Mexican restaurant, I got up to pay for the food, but when I went around to the window, the money wasn't available on my card, and I was like, "Oh, just let me unlock the card." And they were like, they started speaking in Spanish, and what I ascertained was they were saying, "Oh, he's trying to not pay," and so all of a sudden, I was being wrapped up and taken somewhere, and it seemed like they were dragging me somewhere for the longest time, and when I finally got when they finally got me to where I was going, they started turning me over, tossing me, and like checking me for gang signs and whatnot. And I was like, man, what is happening right now? And I'm like, what's gang signs? Like, what's really going on? Now, what I didn't realize, it was that the nurses were actually moving me from one wing to the next, and when I got to the other room, they have to check you for bed sores. If you've been laying in one position for long enough, they have to check you for bed sores. So they turn you over and they check your body. But in the dream state, that's not what it was. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So everything that was happening to me in real life was always translated to
Sheesh.
something. It was coming through as something totally different in the dream state. It was coming through as something totally different. And so but you don't know that until you come out of it and you start realizing, like, oh, that's why I felt like I was being dragged for so long, because I was in the bed, they removed me to a whole other floor, and when I got there they were doing this. So trust me, crazy. And I tried to tell the doctors afterward, because here's the thing, Khristian. You know, if you're on an airplane and you hit some turbulence, you look to the stewardesses, or what do you call them, the flight attendants. And if they seem chill, you're like, okay, this is cool. But one time I was on the flight and we hit turbulence, and the flight attendant looked horrified. And I became horrified because I realized, wait a minute, if this isn't common to you, then we're in trouble. And so I say that to say, when I started telling the doctor about the dream state, he was incredulous. He was like, what? And I'm looking at him like, yeah. And he was like, are you? I was like, yeah. He said, we just had what we call a round table where all the doctors in the area come together and discuss new cases. He said, I need you at the next one. I wish you could have been at this one because we've never heard this before. And I'm like, are you serious, brother? He's like, we've never heard that before. So no one's ever come back to say, hey, you know, we're aware, we're in the comatose state, like we're conscious, but this is how it comes out. And yeah, honestly,
wow,
it blew him away. And the other, he had some interns in there or whatever they were like sitting there like, whoa, and they couldn't believe it. So yeah, man, it was crazy, bro. I was in the hospital for 3 months total, learning to walk again, being weaned off of morphine because I had to eventually go into rehab. And I came home 2 days before Christmas.
Wow.
2021. Yeah.
Man, brother, you talking about cats that were praying, and I know that is, it's cliche now, thoughts and prayers and all that kind of stuff or whatever. I'm praying for you, Doc.
Yeah.
I saw this one meme one time that said, if somebody says they're praying for you, that was the prayer.
Yeah. Wow. That's very true.
That was the prayer.
That's very true. That's very true, brother. Because it's, you know, when we see school tragedies and things like that, we say our thoughts and prayers, and somebody really got fed up and was like, you keep your thoughts and prayers. Let's pass some laws that keeps this from happening. You know what I'm saying? Because it seems like your thoughts and prayers didn't help us from the last time. And that's what it seems like. So Anissa kept this really close to the vest. She only reached out to people who were really close to us, like yourself, Keith and Kiki, and obviously some family members. But even with family members, Anissa was the dopest wife you could ask for in that moment, because she was like, listen, you know what we teach. He is healed, whole, and lacking nothing. And this is simply him having a low vibration moment. This is simply him, his body's being knocked out of homeostasis. And that's all right, because you can't be healed unless you're sick. So she was saying, I don't want to hear any negative talk from any family members. Because, you know, instantly people start saying stuff like, oh, you know, Uncle so-and-so just died. She's like, nope, not going to hear that. Don't want to hear that. I only want to talk to people who believe that he's just asleep, Lazarus, that right now, that he's going to be fine. And so,
come on, Lazarus, Lazarus, huh?
Yeah, she's like, no, he's just asleep. He's going to come out of this. And she believed it. And let me tell you something, because what the doctors understood was what I went through was crazy, but they also understood, and they addressed it with her in the room, that what she went through was harrowing. Being awake on the other side of things, having to wake up every day expecting the phone call that you don't want to receive, having to hold on to faith, knowing, because, you know, Khristian, one thing that I believe, that I teach rather at B Church, is you have to move past believing to knowing. I don't believe that I live in New Haven, Connecticut. I know I live in New Haven, Connecticut. And when it comes to my knowledge of the Most High, what the Father does, what Christ did for me, it is now no longer a belief. Belief is the journey, and knowing is the destination. So when you arrive at the destination, you can't be moved from that place. It's no longer, I believe God gonna heal him. It's like, I know he's healed. I know he's healed, and it has yet to manifest. A lot of people are afraid of the word manifest, only because the word has been used obviously in some nefarious or spooky way. But manifest simply means to cause to appear or to make happen. So when we set the intention of what we want and we believe that Christ died for our not only sins, but our ailments, that healing is the children's bread. Then we stood on it. She stood on it. I had to stand on it. In the comatose state, I had to stand on it. She stood on it. And everybody who believed like me, they stood on it as well. You stood on it. You was like, no, man, praying for my brother. He gonna come through. You were one of the first people I spoke to with that thing in my throat. Hey, man, how you doing? That was crazy. That was wild. But you know what I'm saying? And it was
you did this to me.
It was wild, but you know what I'm saying? But it was a journey, having to learn to walk again, not knowing if I would speak well, sing well again. Just the whole physical aspect of it was crazy. I remember the first time I started cutting grass again, bro. And I had to stop and wear my pulsometer to see if my if it was dropping below what it should. And just 5 minutes was like I ran 10 miles. It was horrible. So because I suffered acute respiratory failure. And so getting that back, that affected my singing, everything. So the trach affected my tone. Anyone who knows me, who followed me, knows how raspy I was. And it's like when they did the trach, they cleaned up the pipes. So I had to learn how to work with this new voice. Like, what's happening? I sound like I was 20 again. Like, I don't like this. It's like I want the rasp back because I learned how to maneuver that. You know what I'm saying? I learned how to. But I'll take what I get,
man.
Man, yeah. So it's a trip, bro. Like you don't know that happens to you until it happens to you. But what you stand on is what's really true. When your life is shaken up, what you truly know is what keeps you.